This morning we're going to lead off our meeting with our speaker in order to accommodate his extremely busy schedule. Our speaker this morning is Matthew J. Wilson, interim president, and I hope that interim tag doesn't last long, that he's permanent, of the University of Akron. Matthew Wilson was appointed interim president of the University of Akron by unanimous vote of the Akron University Board of Trustees on July 11th, 2016. He previously served as the University of Akron School of Law Dean and Professor since 2014. Under Mr. Wilson's leadership, Akron Law restructured its admissions, scholarship, and marketing programs. Enrollment increased more than 25% in the academic year 2015-16, bucking a national trend of declining law school enrollment. He came to Akron from the University of Wyoming College of Law, where he served as Associate Dean of Student Affairs, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, and Professor of Law from 2009 to 2014. Under his direct oversight of enrollment management, the University of Wyoming College of Law's enrollment rose 20% in 2014, with a corresponding improvement in the school's rankings. Matthew Wilson has more than 25 years of international experience practicing and teaching business law, intellectual property law, Japanese law, and dispute resolution. Prior to joining the University of Wyoming College of Law in 2009, he was Senior Associate Dean and General Counsel for Temple University's Japan campus in Tokyo. There he oversaw academic, administrative, and legal matters related to all undergraduate, graduate, professional, and non-degree programs, and he also served as the director of Temple's law program in Tokyo. Interim President Wilson earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and a Bachelor of Arts in Asian Study with a minor in Japanese at the University of Utah in 1995, and his Juris Doctor at Temple University in 1999. In addition to his higher education career, Matthew has also worked as an attorney in Florida, New Jersey, and Japan. I am very pleased and proud to say that he resides in Hudson with his wife Norika and their 2 youngest sons. His oldest daughter lives in the Rocky Mountain region with her husband and 2 children, and his oldest son is currently doing volunteer missionary work in South Korea. In his spare time, President Wilson plays basketball, baseball, golf, and tennis with his children and with students at the University of Akron. Please join me in giving a very warm Rotary welcome to President Matthew Wilson, University of Akron.
Good morning, and I'm so happy to be here. It's great. This is the second Rotary group that I've spoken to in the area since being appointed interim president. And this has to be near and dear to my heart since I just live right around the corner. So very excited to be here. We've been in the area for about 2 years and 3 months. And the reception that we have received into the community has just been amazing and wonderful. So thank you very much for hosting me today, Mayor, and I appreciate that introduction. I'm sure some of you are listening, trying to do the math and figuring out, boy, he has to be the youngest looking grandfather this side of the Mississippi. So I just wanted to assure you that I didn't get married when I was 10, and I didn't go to law school when I was 12. But I've been blessed with 4 wonderful children and 2 grandchildren, and we've had the opportunity to live around the world. And as I tell folks, it was very interesting. As I came here to the Akron area, folks would find out that, you know, I've lived in Japan about 13 years, and I've spent some time on a tropical island in the Western Pacific by the name of Saipan, where I was engaged in a major trial in U.S. court involving 2 Japanese companies. Spent some time in South Korea and the Philippines, lived in Florida, Utah, Wyoming, Pennsylvania. And as I showed up, they said, why Akron? Which was really interesting to me, kind of coming on in, because I had looked at, you know, this area and had become familiar with it over the years. I get out and I speak quite a bit to law students and to undergraduate students about how you can internationalize a career in law. And I'd been here in the area. I'd spoken at the University of Akron School of Law 3 or 4 times. I'd had the opportunity when I was living in Tokyo between 2003 to 2009 running Temple University's study abroad program for their not only their law students, but in essence, vice president of their 3,000 student campus in Tokyo. I'd had some opportunities to work with some University of Akron students who had come over and studied with me. I'd actually published an article in the University of Akron School of Law Review, which out of about 2,000 legal journals was ranked number 31 in the world. And so, you know, I was familiar with the area, and I came here and, you know, beautiful, gorgeous area, love the national parks, you know, love the recreational opportunities. The folks in Ohio are what I refer to as Ohio nice, which is a good thing. Having lived around the world, you know, the folks here are just amazing. Why wouldn't you want to be here? And having lived immediately before this in Wyoming, about 7,200 feet above sea level, about 2 hours away from a major airport. I mean, the fact that I have an airport 12 minutes away from my workplace and another one 35 minutes away from my house, and if you want to go as far as Pittsburgh, I mean, 3 major airports, you know, within that period of time. What a great place to be. You know, very convenient, great people, great rich heritage, and, you know, a great university. You know, one that has been around since 1870, one that I think is really the foundation of Akron, one that has really helped this community and this area grow. And we should all be very proud of the University of Akron and what it stands for. In fact, as I was looking at the University of Akron, mind you, I was focusing on the School of Law. And it's interesting, if you look at the School of Law, and you'll find out it's got to be the lawyer in me and the law background. Just talking to you a little bit about the university or the law school, and I want to analogize that to the university or extend it. But it was interesting to me because here I am, I'm in Wyoming, and I'm looking at potential dean jobs around the country. And so in an environment which is very challenging right now. I don't know if anyone has followed the legal education environment, but 7 years ago, there were about 100,000 applicants to law schools. This last year, there were about 54,000 applicants to law schools. 7 years ago, there were 54,000 seats in law schools. This year, there are 38,000 seats for law schools. Applications are at the lowest rate that they've ever been since, I think, the year of my birth in 1970. And so that's been very challenging because there are about 60 more law schools today than there were when I was born. And so as I was looking at this position and looking at the legal environment, some law schools have merged. Many law schools have slashed faculty, slashed programs, cut back on staff. And I had the opportunity in front of me at the University of Akron. Some folks said, "You're absolutely crazy. You know, why are you leaving a state where there's one law school and you're the only show in town?" There are 9 law schools here in Ohio, and enrollment around the state is plummeting, and it's very challenging. But I had come in and I interviewed, and I absolutely loved the students. I was incredibly impressed. The university and its facilities, if you haven't been down on our campus recently, I would encourage you to do so. It's a beautiful campus where a lot of building has gone on over the last decade. It really is an incredible site and a great tribute to the community in which we live. Also, I found wonderful alumni, great alumni base, very supportive, and the professors, I was stricken by the fact that they cared more about the students than it seemed anything else. And that's always been my approach is I wouldn't be in higher education if it wasn't about the students. And I tell folks, it's never about me. It will never be. To the extent that it is, somebody should conk me over the head and drag me away and put me someplace else. Because if you focus on students, the individuals in education, those students will succeed. The minute that you treat education exclusively like a business or primarily like a business, you're going to lose sight of what's out there. Now, there are financial realities that you have to deal with, that you have to go through, but it has to be about the individual. And so, it really is that service mentality. And that was what I saw from my faculty. So I came in and folks just warning me. Now, it's very interesting. I don't know if you've ever had this experience when you get interviewed, and I was looking at this, is this the truth? So that was the first thing I was asking as they were telling me things, is this the truth? And when I came in, much to my surprise on one hand and maybe not on the other, the admissions numbers, the retention numbers, they didn't match up with what I was told in March and April. And so as I started to look, I went, oh no, I have major holes. When I looked at the amount of money that was scholarshiped or what was done, it was over the top. How in the world could this institution survive? But it's a great institution, because what I found was the outcomes were great. The University of Akron School of Law, the job placement had been high. The bar passage rate was among the top, if not the top in the state consistently. All very good things. The students seemed to be, fairly happy as well. And so, I was excited to kind of come on in, but there were financial challenges. The law school was running a deficit. But what I saw was a foundation. I saw programs that were world-class. The problem was nobody knew about those programs. So it was my intent to come on in and to elevate these programs. Nobody knew that we had won 8 national championships in 15 years at the law school with our trial team program. It was buried in a website, one sentence, and I thought, well, geez, we need to scream this to the world. So I went out and it was interesting, I was sitting at a basketball game with my son, who played on the Hudson High School team for a little bit, and the basketball team, and everybody was looking at the championship banners. So I got an idea. I went out and had national championship banners made that we could string around our atrium at the law school to talk about, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. And it was fun to see folks walk into our building and look up and see 8 national championship banners, and just the excellence that resonates, and letting folks know that. So there were about 25 balls, new ideas, innovative things that I came in and threw into the air in collaboration with the faculty and the staff. And fast forward, The University of Akron School of Law is probably the hottest law school in the country right now. In fact, traditionally out of 9 law schools in Ohio, I think Akron was probably number 6 or number 7 in size. We're now number 2, and we're chasing the heels of Ohio State to become the biggest law school in the state. Our first year enrollment compared to 2 years ago is up by 40%. Our applications this last year were up by 25%. We rejected twice as many students this year as we did last. And so there's a lot of excitement that is there, including a $21 million building renovation that's completely paid for. I learned a lesson very early on in my life. Actually courting my wife, Noriko, I got a hold as a 20-year-old of a $25,000 credit card and thinking that I needed to wine her and dine her, except I don't drink alcohol, so it must have been something besides the wine, including a couple of trips back and forth to Japan to meet her parents and to do the like. Looked at my credit card bill and I had $20,000 in debt, and as we went to buy wedding rings, she looked at me and said, "I want that one," and she saw me kind of cringe, and she said, "What?" And I said, "Well, I need to share something with you." That $20,000 was painful, and I still hear about it today, and so I'm not a big believer in building on hope. Building on credit. I'm all about having things in the bank before you move forward and doing things fiscally conservative. And I'll come back to that in a second. But a lot of great things going on at the law school. So one day this summer, I woke up. My sons, my 2 youngest, I've got a sophomore and a junior at Hudson High School. They remind me that, "Dad, you were appointed to be interim president of the University of Akron on National Slurpee Day," which was 7/11, July 11th. So that's my marker in life now is National Slurpee Day. But one day I woke up, it was National Slurpee Day, and they made me interim president of the University of Akron. And it was interesting as I was talking to the board, and I told them, I mean, they did an internal search, they didn't accept applications, they talked to community members, faculty members, students, staff, to find out what the university needed in terms of an interim president. And as they called me in, I was talking to my father, and he said, "Matt, why in the world would you want to do something like this? Doesn't make sense. It's an interim title, very difficult position that you're going to be in." He said, "I don't know if you," he said, "based on what you've told me over the last 2 years, there's been quite a bit of turbulence at the university. And so it seems like it would be a very challenging situation. Things are going so well at the law school. The initiatives that you've put into play are just taking off. Why would you do something like this? Why would you even consider it?" And I shared this story with the board. And I said, "Look," I said a couple of things. One, I have this disease that I cannot say no to my employer. So that's a problem. If you ask, I don't see how I could say no. But even more important than that, it's all about the students with me. And I've seen over the last year concern among our students, concern about the future of the University of Akron, concern about the area. And if I can come in and hopefully help resolve those concerns, how could I say no to the students? And I told the board, I said, "This isn't about me. It never will be about me. In fact, I may be shooting myself in the foot. I teach negotiations as part of my profession. But I've told the board from day one. I said, look, I said, it's not about me. It's not about the money. I said, if you want to pay me as much as my predecessor, I will donate $80,000 of that back to our scholarship fund immediately. Or we can do it simply. You can just pay me less than what market is and what he had. I don't want a car allowance. I don't want a country club membership. I don't want to live in the university residence because I know the university doesn't have a lot of money right now in terms of finances, so it's not about me. So today, actually, at 4:30, the Board of Trustees is meeting 3 months into my tenure to determine whether or not to take off the interim tag. And I've told them that's what it's all about. That's what I want to do. That's my message. Keep me there. I don't need a 5-year contract. Give me a 2-year contract or 18 months or 1 year initially and go year to year, evaluate me at the end of the year. If I can make an impact as president, I would love to do that. If not, put me in the classroom, and that's where I can make the impact. So we'll see what happens this afternoon, but I've stepped into this 3 months in. I'm very, very encouraged in terms of what has gone on and where we are. You know, if I don't like to talk about the past, but, you know, we've been in a very difficult spot. You know, financially, last year, I'm not sure if you caught the headlines, but, you know, the university shed about 220 positions. That resulted in savings of about $14.3 million. It's left some holes. So if you come into the building where I'm located in Buckdell Hall, in my suite, there are seats for 6. There are 2 of us, me and my assistant. You go upstairs into one of the suites, there are 7 offices, all vacant. You go into our office of the provost, there are 7 offices in there, 2 of them are vacant. And so we are lean and mean, and we're moving forward, and we're doing it the best that we can. Our baseball team, unfortunately, was eliminated. Some things happened in terms of our performing arts center, the University Press, and part of the last 3 months have been rehabilitating, reconstructing, and doing a host of things. So E.J. Thomas, please come down and check us out. Our box office is open. We've got a full slate of things that are going on. It's been great to see the community rally, whether it's our symphony, whether it's our Tuesday music series, whether it's been our Broadway shows. You know, tickets are up and we're open for business. Our sporting events, you know, the attendance there has been up. And as I tell folks, your entertainment dollars, if they're spent on our campus, it really actually helps out our students because that way we don't have to subsidize these activities, and you know, it's a great way to actually, you know, give back to our community. But my approach has been to listen, to learn, and to assist. And so I've had the opportunity over the last 3 months to really engage with our students on a different level. And it helps that I look like I'm one of the students, and so I think they just mistake me and let me into their crowds. But I'm all about doing what I can to assist the students. And you know, I share this with you just so that you have an understanding of, I think, the excitement of where things are. Because, you know, these students come onto our campus and they have just an amazing experience and some amazing opportunities. You know, we have a College of Engineering that I can tell you is world class. I mean, this is the 3rd university that I've been at, actually 4th if you include my undergrad. All of the universities where I have been public research universities. The University of Utah, University of Wyoming, Temple University, and now the University of Akron. And what I actually see in a lot of the students at the University of Akron are very similar to, I think, my situations. I went to the University of Utah. I only applied, I was talking to my son Jacob because he's getting ready to apply to colleges. And I said, Jacob, how many universities are you going to apply to? He said, well, I'm thinking about 15 or 20. And I said, Jacob, I said, do you know how many universities your dad applied to? He said, 10. I said, no, I applied to 2. You know, I applied to one that I knew was a reach because I knew, coming from a big family that didn't have a lot of money, that I was going to have to pay for my education myself. And there was no way I was going to go there, but I at least wanted to apply and take the money out of my own pocket to say I could get in. That was what I wanted to do. But I knew I was going to go to the University of Utah because the tuition was affordable. I could ride the bus and, you know, go on into the university, and I could have access to that education. And I see a lot of that in Akron with our students who they're scrapping, you know, they're working 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs, trying to better themselves, trying to get a foundation, you know, moving on forward. And so I try and get out and share that story, you know, with our students. But, you know, it's amazing to see the great things that we have going on at the University of Akron. We have not only this College of Engineering that's one of the best in the world, I mean, in terms of even rankings, but we've got about 3,500 students that have come. That's about double the numbers from about 10 years ago in our College of Engineering. We cannot get enough students in to actually place them. So, I mean, our job placement rate is in the high 90s. Last week, we had a career fair, and we had probably close to 175, 200 employers that were there for about 1,500 students. And I asked the Dean of the College of Engineering, where are the rest of the students? And he said, well, they already have jobs. They have internships. They have co-ops. We have some engineering programs that are world-class that no other folks have. I met with the accreditors for our corrosion engineering program that started with 7. Now it's up to 120. We work with the Department of Defense, and it's really a burgeoning area of engineering. We have an aerospace science engineering program that outside of the Air Force Academy, that's what we have. We have a Bliss Institute of Politics that is amazing. In fact, you know, it's known not only nationwide but worldwide and contributing that way. Great College of Business. It's ranked in the top 25 in the country in terms of employer satisfaction. And the different degrees that we have a sales program within our Department of Education that's phenomenal. Healthcare, education, you know, you name it, you know, we have just phenomenal things that are there. And so part of my mission, similar to the law school, is to get out and tell folks about the great things that we have at the University of Akron. I stayed local, and I had a great education at the University of Utah. For folks that are here in the area, staying local at the University of Akron, I can guarantee a great education. And I used my education at the University of Utah as a springboard to a career in international law, one that took me around the world, and here I stand as a university president. And I tell folks, it wasn't anything magical about me except working hard and being able to move forward and having support from those that were around me. And so I'm here to support the students. And I think our faculty are here the same. So I've been doing some creative things. I get out and I play basketball with a group of 9 sophomores on Friday mornings at 6 a.m. I've had the opportunity to crash concerts that our students have. I helped our students move into the dorms. I show up in places that you wouldn't expect the president. I've set up some basketball hoops out front of our student union on 2 occasions. And I've challenged students walking by to either beat me at a one-on-one game, the 46-year-old grandfather, or to challenge me to a shot, a competition of 5 shots. And so if they tie me or beat me, I give them a Starbucks gift card and my business card that has my cell phone on it and an offer that they can call me, text me, email me any time of the day or night if they have an issue. If somebody loses, they still get my business card. And what I found is that personal touch, it makes all the difference in an education. And it doesn't matter whether it's kindergarten, whether it's middle school, whether it's high school, or whether it's university. It makes all the difference in the world. And I share a couple stories with you. Tyler contacted me after I did this the first time. We did it on a Tuesday. I played him, and Wednesday morning, I get a text. I look down at my phone, and it's from Tyler. And Tyler said, "President Wilson, yesterday I tried to beat you at basketball. Last night, one of my close friends at home passed away. I'm devastated. I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. I thought about you." And I had the opportunity over the course of the next 24 hours to engage with Tyler, to connect him with our counselors, to consult with him, to follow up with him. 2 weeks ago at the library, I was walking through and Tyler came up and, "President Wilson, how are you?" I said, "More importantly, Tyler, how are you?" He said, "I'm good. Thank you. The University of Akron is just wonderful." I mean, it's great. I mean, it's wonderful to see the impact that you can make on the individual. So I'm trying to make an impact on the individual. Now, unfortunately, the glasses aren't all rosy. I have taken out my big handkerchief, and over the last 2 years, we've gotten some dust on the lenses of our bifocals, and I'm taking the big handkerchief out, and I'm wiping that off so that folks can see the greatness of the University of Akron. Unfortunately, we've got some challenges. So, based on kind of what happened, that dust that got on the glasses, when I came in on July 11th, it looked like our enrollment at the university was going to be down 12.5%. Now, some of the changes and some of the things that we've been able to do collectively as a team, the outreach, just the whole mood which has shifted, we were able to somehow close that gap to an 8% decrease. And this is the only time that you'll hear me in my career say an 8% decrease is a good thing. I've been known, whether it was Temple, whether it was Wyoming, whether it's here at the law school, to come and turn around programs. And this is one of the things on the enrollment side that we're going to have to do, because as a state institution, we're heavily dependent on tuition and also on state subsidies. And those are based on course completions and graduations. And with fewer students, because our students decided to go elsewhere, we're going to have some challenges that I'm going to have to address. And I'm hoping that I'll have the trust and the backing and be able to work with our faculty to try and get these done. We made some corrections last year. Did not necessarily work out in terms of the PR value, and it kept students away. So it's my goal to try and avoid cutting, but to try and find different ways to enhance things. So you'll see me doing a lot of international things. with my international background, and now it's a great time to bring our international programs together and to enhance those. That was one of the things that I did at the university. You'll see me putting together more evening programs. We used to have a very robust evening program at the University of Akron that I think at one point in time it had 8,000 students in it. You know, today we have business and law that have night programs, but really not much beyond that. So we will be expanding our evening offerings. We'll become an incredibly personalized and individualized campus. We have that with our honors program, which is booming. Well, we need to do that across the board. We need to do a much better job on the graduation side of the ledger. The University of Akron, we graduate about 45% of our students in doing that. You know, and that compares nicely to some other institutions, but it's not good enough, and we need to make a lot of strides there. And so I already have groups of students, student leaders that are discussing that, and faculty and staff that are discussing that. So as we move forward, you know, we've got a lot of great things that are going on in the graduation. But, you know, the press has been good, the feeling has been good. Even more importantly, the student successes that I'm seeing have been incredibly good. Our students are getting co-ops, internships, and jobs. Part of the financial deal is trying to go out and to raise scholarship funding. And so I've rolled out a Moving Forward, Making a Difference scholarship campaign. The idea that, you know, legacy gifts are great, and we'll accept legacy gifts. I have a big gift that I'm going to be announcing to the university on November 1st that I'm very excited about, that probably would not have happened 4 months ago. But the impact that can be made right now with donations, you donate now, we can award next semester. And so we're doing some non-endowed scholarships and really making some traction there to try and make an impact in our students' lives. Because I can tell you, it's all about the students, and some of the students, as much as they try, they just do not have the means. And I see myself in them, and they're working as hard as they can, but sometimes we just need to try and fill the gaps. So that's kind of an update on the university, kind of what I'm about, kind of the vision that's there. What I want to do is I want to open it up to questions. Being a lawyer and a law professor and a president of a university, I could talk for another 3 hours. But you know, I'm interested in finding out maybe what some of your questions might be and what I might be able to talk to you about.
Well, I'll start it off.
Thanks.
This question's a little bit out of left field. I'm your local school board, and it's about College Credit Plus.
Sure.
It's a big issue for us.
Yeah.
Now, one of the positives is it gives kids a chance to get a head start in their college education, get those credits. One of the negatives is that the cost of it comes out of the local school district, including the books.
Right.
And sometimes the courses actually don't even have the same rigor as the local school program. So I was just wondering what your thought was on that, because my understanding is that was really developed for the Ohio colleges and universities.
You know, it's really interesting. So just for those of you that aren't plugged into higher education, there's a movement that has happened recently here in Ohio, and I guess it's probably the last 3 or 4 years. It's called College Credit Plus. You know, traditionally, and this goes back to even my day, you had advanced placement classes. So I actually used advanced placement classes combined with some of my practical experience in Japan. I worked for a hydrological and meteorological instruments manufacturer, worked for Sony Group in their professional audio and video department. This is before I graduated from university, actually. I went to Japan initially as a volunteer service missionary and came back to the US, turned around and went back. But between my AP classes and some of my practical experience, I got 2 degrees from the University of Utah, Bachelor's of Science in Political Science and Bachelor of Arts in Asian Studies in 2 calendar years. Why? I took a lot of AP classes. Now, those AP classes were very rigorous. You had a test at the very end that you had to pass with a 3 or above. I admit to folks, I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I have a lot of weaknesses. In fact, I bragged to my kids that I got a 1 on the AP physics test, which you need to get a 3 to pass. It's not golf. You know, 5 is high, 1 is low. So I tell my kids, you know, shoot for the sun. But you know, using all of the AP classes that I passed, you know, I was able to expedite things. Now, College Credit Plus is you can, in the high schools, during your high school years, I think even as early as your junior year, you can start taking college classes. Now, ideally, having the students come onto campus and take college classes on campus is one way to do this. And then you've got the rigor there because the students are actually in those college classes. What's happened is you have, let's say, the distance between Hudson and the University of Akron or Kent or wherever it might be, to have those students pick up in the middle of the day, go onto campus. You've got transportation issues and you've got commuting times. And so the push has been to try and develop those classes inside of the high schools. And maybe it's done through distance learning, maybe it's done through a high school teacher who has a master's degree trying to get that done. And so conceptually, the idea is to streamline the education process, to make it quicker, to make it more affordable at all. The principals, one of the things that I'm doing to not only rebuild the reputation of the University of Akron, but to get the word out, is I'm actually visiting high schools. And so I've been out talking to different principals, including our principal here, about College Credit Plus, maybe ways that the university could help the high school and the high school students. And it's really mixed in terms of whether or not this is effective or not. Students are getting credit, but rigor is one of the questions. The classes that are being taught and taken, do they transfer across? I mean, that's another thing that's there. And the cost is on the high schools, and what you find out when you get to the collegiate level is the textbooks are just outrageously expensive. And if the high schools have to buy those, how does that work? Because it's coming out of the high school budgets. So saving the students money, but it's coming out of the high school budgets. And so it really is mixed in terms of the feedback. And I asked one of the principals, I said, is this cutting, it was a principal at Nordonia, is this cutting into the AP classes? He said, no, it's a different group. The AP students are taking the AP classes. The students that typically wouldn't take the AP classes are taking College Credit Plus. So, I mean, that doesn't answer your question in terms of where things are. I think there are a lot of challenges in making sure that you maintain the rigor. I think there's challenges in terms of the funding and how that's being allocated. One of the things is with these streamlines, the streamlining of programs, what it does is it puts pressure on the universities who are also dependent on tuition and state funding. And so where that impact is felt, it's a set pot of taxpayer resources. And so if, let's say, with the high schools, if they weren't bearing the brunt, then the universities would then have to go and do cutbacks there as well. So, I mean, I'm still kind of in the exploration stage. We've been talking about, what we can do to streamline it. I know at the University of Akron, we have, I think, distance learning relationships with about 41 different high schools. And so we actually have professors on our campus that are streaming those classes, to do the distance learning things that are there as well. So, I think right here.
Which one?
Either way, I'll defer.
We've been reading in the papers about the Stark campus moving into Akron. How would that affect the situation that you're finding yourself in terms of trying to attract additional students and better serve the community?
Great question. So, as you may know, Stark State, based in North Canton, recently announced, I think it was probably in April or May, announced that they were going to come into Akron, and they were going to build a campus on our doorstep. So really right across the street from the university. At that point in time, I was dean of the law school, and I heard about Stark State coming on in, and the position of the university has been, let's collaborate, let's cooperate, let's find a way to serve all students. And so immediately thereafter, the University of Akron, we sent our deans actually down to Stark State to find out even more about Stark State, what courses they have, ways that we can transfer. When I came in July, I shortly thereafter set an appointment with the president of Stark State. I went down personally to Stark State and talked to the president and said, hey, I would love to cooperate. We're talking about it on the academic side. Maybe we can save the taxpayer some monies and maybe share some services. In fact, the University of Akron has been built for about 40,000 students, not by my predecessor, but before that. So I've got a lot of classroom space. Maybe we could save the taxpayer some money and have you actually come and locate it on our campus. And I said, I don't know if it's too late for that. President of Stark State said, well, it is. We're getting ready to break ground on our building. And so I said, that's fine. Whatever we can do, we'd love to have your students over on our campus. Hopefully, they'll grow accustomed to the University of Akron. And we would love to have the students there. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to work out, and so we've continued to talk. Now, as Stark State moves in, there's been a couple of things that have come up. There's a senator state senator down in Akron who had raised some questions after listening to me talk about, the decrease that we have had on a revenue basis. One of the things is, I tell folks, we've been around since 1870. I mean, I've got a budget of $360 million, so we're not going anywhere. We just have to figure out how to address our financial challenges, because this 8% downtick, you think every percentage is about $2.2 million in revenue, and then the impact that has on the state subsidies, it's a sizable gap that we're going to need to make up. And so I've heard concerns within the university about what are we going to do about Stark State. I've heard concerns in the community about what are we going to do about Stark State. I say it's all about the students. We're going to cooperate, collaborate. We're going to get them through and figure out a way to make this work. Now, a couple of interesting facts, by the way, there. One is many folks don't know that the University of Akron has a community college. We're the only university in the state that has our own community college. We've had it since 1964. We have 20 associate's degrees. 25% of our classes, I believe, overlap with Stark State's, including our degrees. And so I have some people that are very nervous at the university who teach our associate's degrees and teach our classes. And I've told them it's all about serving the students. It's about meeting the marketplace. It's about getting people through and getting them graduated. And excellence is going to be the key, because we offer 2-year degrees and 4-year degrees, and we offer master's degrees and doctorate degrees. And there are benefits to being on a campus where you have the music and you have the arts and you have world-class speakers that come in, where you have campus life and you have a dorm experience and you have research activities that are going on. We have those benefits at the University of Akron that other folks don't. And another thing is, and this is one of the challenges that I think all universities face, is the graduation rates at universities. If you look at the community colleges, the graduation rates range anywhere between 8% and probably 25%. You do not find community colleges in the state of Ohio or elsewhere that really have high graduation rates. And so, as you look at that, part of, I think, higher education needs to be looking at across the board, what do we do about graduation rates? That's one of the things that I think we need to help those students that are going to community colleges do, is that pathway to graduation. And so, we're looking forward to ways to try and make that work within the system. Are we going to have to make some adjustments? Probably. But, what we have at the university, I think, having people understand who we are and what we can offer, and the fact that it is at an affordable price, I think that will help, carry the day. But, it is something of concern. It's something that we're going to have to look at, and we're going to work through, and I'm hopeful. Thanks.
I'm going to take advantage of 8 hours ahead of time. President Wilson, thank you very much for your presentation. Universities like the University of Akron, for their surrounding communities, are many times known as a hub of innovation. And the collateral fall off from that is more robust and advanced job placements, more advanced and robust economies. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to the University of Akron, because many people don't know this, as they don't know a lot of things about the greatness of the University of Akron. The University of Akron is the only university in the world to have a PhD in biomimicry, and is a science that is ebbing and growing and so important for us. How do you see the responsibility as a center of innovation for the region and the country, the role that the University of Akron is playing and will play in the future under your leadership?
Great question. And I think that goes back to, just the value of a research institution and what you need. I've got some things that's really interesting. If you look at the value of four-year universities, that public research universities that, oftentimes take a hit in the media. I hear some things saying, if you go to a four-year university, you come out at the end of the day and there's no job at the end of the tunnel, which is far from the truth in terms of things that are there. But if I look at this, I mean, I can tell you, a typical college graduate, and this is just with a bachelor's, at a 7-year university, so when I say 7-year university, I'm talking about bachelor's and master's, will earn nearly $1 million more in their lifetime than a high school student. If you increase that to someone who is conducting research that goes out and gets a PhD or a master's, you're talking a lifetime an extra value of $2 to $3 million, if not actually more. The unemployment rate that you see, graduates with 4-year degrees, is about 2.8% versus 6% for someone who just has a high school degree or a 2-year degree. If you look at economic well-being, if you look at life satisfaction, you have those folks that are doing that as well. And if you look at the workplace, research is showing that there's going to be a substantial gap, even here in Ohio, in terms of the workforce and what they need. And in today's world, I mean, look at manufacturing, for instance. If you walk into a manufacturing plant, today's manufacturing, it's all digitized. You've got robotics, you've got all those things that need to go on, and the skill levels are much more. I mean, your 4 years, your master's degrees, that's really where it's coming from. Higher education and the research that comes out of that, I mean, it has to be the center of a community. And, one of the challenges, and this goes back even to the College Credit Plus, and it goes back to, the community colleges and what like, the model that you've seen with universities is, oftentimes those general ed classes that students would come in and take, your composition, your math and whatnot, the revenue that was received off of those is used to fuel the research on the back end. And so as College Credit Plus, as more students start to take those classes, or if you have folks that decide to take their general ed classes at a community college, it eats into the research monies that the institutions normally have. I look at our College of Polymer Science, for instance, the best in the world. And I sit down and I listen to some of the research that those folks are doing. One of the things that we're doing at our Center for Polymer Sciences is there has been a lot of research that's been done on a compound that can replicate a bone. And so let's say for our soldiers, someone who typically would lose a leg, we've been able to go and replicate what that bone is and be able to go in and save that soldier's leg at a cost that is probably 100 times less than what the military did in terms of developing that. You've got wonderful things that are out there like that. Our biomimicry, if you're not associated with that, come down to our campus and learn. Going back to my tropical island days, there's these really cute small lizards called geckos. And geckos, they sing. If you go down to Florida, they have geckos there too. But these geckos are amazing because they can hang upside down from leaves that are wet. And so we have some of our professors that have been able to replicate how these geckos stick to these leaves on wet surfaces, and being able to then commercialize those type of things that are there as well. So whether it's commercial applications, medical applications, and the like, a lot of these wonderful ideas come out of universities from the University of Akron. And so as you talk about the support that the university needs, whether it's coming from public funds or whether it's coming from private funds, that's where really universities of today need assistance. And we need to try and keep costs down to a minimum for the students so that folks don't come out with major student loans, but there needs to be a realization that once you do that, once you try and keep it down, this research, this innovation, it needs to have other funding. Otherwise, it's going to slowly wither away, and it's not going to benefit our region or the people in the community as a whole. So it's a role that we need to play. It's a role that has to play. That's how we're distinguished from the community college. That's how we're distinguished from your college credit plus programs, and the like. And we really have to make the investments. The problem is if you don't have the money coming from tuition, where do you get that from? Thank you.
Thank you, President Wilson.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, President Wilson. An absolutely incredible journey, and we look forward to your continued involvement in our community and our region. Thank you. Moving on, Dick Pearsall? No? Okay. A few quick announcements. Joseph Patowski, would you like to introduce guests that we have with us today real briefly?
Good morning, Rotarians. Good morning. We have with us Bill Curran. And the better half of the Snyder family, Norma. And from India, Becky Stanley and Samuel Stevens. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and welcome to all of our guests, and thank you for being here today. Just real quick, a couple of announcements. The Rotary International Concert is on Sunday, and for those who are attending, just a reminder, there is a reception prior to the concert at 2 p.m. The reception starts at 2 p.m. We will need some extra assistance for the next 2 weeks on the audiovisual setup, so if anybody can get here a little early and help with that, please see James Field or get a hold of him or Catherine Sines, I believe, either today or during the week. James is going to be gone for 2 weeks. Tom Tobin mentioned to me just before the meeting that he has an extra ticket for the Sunday concert. If anyone would like to go or needs an extra ticket, please see Tom. Tom Page, real quick update on the fall fundraiser.
It's that time of the year. In 2 weeks, we'll have a kickoff for our fall fundraiser. We have a lot of newbies here. I'll send out some stuff via email. But basically what this is, we have 2 fundraising events during the year. The gala, which you've heard quite a bit about, and was so successful in the spring. And then our fall fundraiser, where we sell corn, roses. By the way, that's what it's going to be this year again. There is a little committee being set up to evaluate the fall fundraiser and what we should be promoting. But the key thing is that we do this for one reason. You know, we listen to our new president of the University of Akron. It's about the kids. It's about scholarships for our students in Hudson. And every year, this is my 5th year doing this, every year we brought in we netted in anywhere from like $5,300 to about $65. Last year we netted $5,800, and the scholarships ran are $2,500 apiece. Yeah, so minimum we have to at least bring in enough money for at least 2 scholarships, if not more. So more information will be coming out about this. November 2nd, Wednesday, we'll have a kickoff. We're going to work on, there's a number of new Rotarians, and Jim Aher and I are going to be working on setting up those teams. And there's really no need to ask any questions right now. I'll give you all the information. I'll keep on repeating it. And Larry Stanton and I will tag team this thing. And we're going to have some fun. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Like Tom said, November 2nd is the kickoff. Next, Joe Avella. We have a couple of guests from India. Joe would like to introduce them and the program that is being initiated with the support from the Rotary International Foundation. Joe?
Yes, we have with us here today Sam Stevens. Sam is the Executive Director of the India Gospel League, as well as a Rotarian from Salem, India. And he applied, his organization applied to our Rotary Foundation for a project that they're working on with Rotary International. And so Sam is here today. I'd like Sam to come up just for 2 minutes, tell us a little bit about your project, and then Craig can come up. Thank you. Sam Stevens.
Rotarian President Dave, fellow Rotarians, good morning. It's a privilege for Becky, my daughter, and I to be here with you today, and thanks for allowing us and giving us this opportunity to bring greetings from the Rotary Club of Salem, of which I have been a member since 1982 or 83. I don't look that old. But greetings from our club in Salem. It's one of the oldest clubs in India and has a history very similar to yours. We have worked with Rotary and the organization that I represent, which is the India Gospel League, which is a holistic development organization working in rural India in health, education, skill training for young people, and various other projects and programs. And Rotary has associated with us, and we have been associated with Rotary as well. In the past, we have done low-cost housing. We've done a Rotary International Matching Grant Project where we have helped 300 children affected with post-polio paralysis, with surgeries and so on. We've established a GI lab in our city through Rotary funding and partnership. And the present project that is being proposed is to establish a center, a dialysis center in our city, which is an increasing need that we feel there. Those from the rural areas are unable to afford the treatment that they require and pretty much go without the treatments that is needed as far as dialysis is concerned. So with Rotary help and with the Rotary Foundation and the matching grant, this is a project that's proposed that I believe will be of tremendous help to hundreds of people deserving that kind of a care. So thank you for favorably considering this, and I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. Okay, it's our privilege this morning, representing the club and the foundation, to present the India Gospel League in support of all your efforts in India and complementing those of the Rotary International. A check for $500 to assist in your efforts moving forward. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Samuel?
Thank you.
I'd like to present you the honor, and also afterwards we'll get a photo op with a larger check.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And please take our greetings back to the Rotary Club of Salem, India, as well. We really appreciate your joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Quick thank you to Gail Royster and Jay Yard, our greeters today, the audio-visual crew, Tom Page, Tom Tobin, James Field, Den Rich, and Ron Barnhouse. Quick thought, leaving you with this morning. This is from the Dalai Lama by way of Ed Sogan. Thank you, Ed, for suggesting this. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. When you listen, you may learn something new. And with that, thank everybody for joining us. We'll see everybody next week.